In 25 BCE, a one-eyed queen looked north at the most powerful empire the world had ever seen, and she did not blink. Her name was Amanirenas. She ruled Kush, the kingdom that stretched along the Nile south of Egypt. And when Rome demanded her land as tribute, she answered with an army instead. Welcome back. Tonight we travel to Meroe, in the years just after Cleopatra's Egypt fell into Roman hands. Tonight we are not walking through quiet markets or peaceful villages. Tonight we walk into a war that Rome did not want the world to remember, because a woman with one eye won it. Settle in. Close your eyes when you are ready. The story begins now. When Cleopatra died and Egypt became a Roman province, Rome believed the entire Nile Valley was now within its reach. The new governor of Egypt, a man named Gaius Petronius, looked south toward Kush the way a man looks at land he has already decided is his. Kush had ruled itself for centuries. It had produced the black pharaohs who once sat on Egypt's own throne. It had no intention of becoming anyone's province. Amanirenas was Kush's Kandake, its ruling queen, not a queen mother in name only, but a commander who led armies in her own right. She ruled alongside her husband, Teritekas, and when he died, she carried the kingdom forward herself, with her son, Akinidad, at her side. The Romans who wrote about her afterward could not hide their discomfort. The geographer Strabo described her as a woman of masculine bearing, blind in one eye, as if her missing eye were the detail that most needed explaining, more than the fact that she had beaten them. Rome's attention was elsewhere for a moment. Petronius marched much of his garrison east, toward Arabia, chasing a different ambition entirely. And in that gap, Amanirenas moved. Kushite forces swept north into Roman-held Upper Egypt. They struck Syene. They struck Elephantine. They struck the sacred island of Philae, where Egyptian priests had worshipped for 1,000 years. Roman garrisons that had assumed Kush was a settled matter found soldiers at their gates who did not agree. The attack was fast, coordinated, and humiliating for Rome, in a way few Roman provinces ever managed to be. And then Amanirenas did something almost theatrical in its meaning. Among the Roman monuments in the captured towns stood a bronze statue of the Emperor Augustus himself, the master of the known world, the man who had personally overseen Egypt's fall. Kushite soldiers tore the head from that statue. They carried it hundreds of miles south, back into the heart of their own kingdom. And there, at the entrance of a temple built to celebrate victory, they buried it, face up, beneath the very steps where people would walk for generations afterward. Every foot that crossed that threshold would step on the face of Rome's emperor without even knowing it. It was not simply a war trophy, it was a message written in bronze and sand. Your power ends here, and we intend to remind ourselves of that every single day. Breathe. That bronze head lay buried for nearly 2,000 years before anyone found it again. Let that stillness settle for a moment. But Rome, humiliated, was not finished. Petronius returned from the east to find his province torn open. He gathered his legions and marched south with the full weight of Roman retaliation behind him. This was not a punitive raid. This was Rome reminding the world what happened to those who touched its emperor's image. Petronius pushed deep into Kushite territory, further than any Roman army had gone before or would go again. He reached Napata itself, the old religious capital, the city built in the shadow of the sacred mountain Jebel Barkal, the same mountain where the black pharaohs had once believed the god Amun made his home. Petronius took the city. He burned what he could not carry away. It was in this fighting, by most accounts, that Amanirenas lost her eye. Wounded by every measure, in the middle of the war she herself had started, and by every measure she did not stop. Napata's fall would have ended most kingdoms' resistance. It did not end Kush's. Amanirenas withdrew, regrouped, and kept her army in the field. She had already made her point once, in bronze, in blood, and in the space where Rome's confidence used to be. She was prepared to make it again. This is the part of the story that surprises people most. Rome, an empire that rarely negotiated with anyone it considered a lesser power, an empire that had just finished swallowing Egypt whole, chose not to finish the war. You are here. You are safe. The story continues. Amanirenas sent envoys north, not to surrender, but to negotiate. They found the Emperor Augustus himself on the island of Samos, far across the Mediterranean from the battlefield where this whole conflict had begun. And there, face to face, with representatives of a queen he had never met and a kingdom he had never managed to conquer, Augustus agreed to peace on remarkably even terms. Rome dropped its demand for tribute from Kush entirely. The frontier was fixed at a town called Hira Sikaminos, a boundary that left Kush's heartland fully intact and fully its own. Rome, an empire that swallowed Egypt in a matter of months, could not swallow Kush in years of trying, and in the end simply agreed to stop trying. Think about what that meant in the wider shape of the ancient world. Nearly every kingdom that touched the edges of Roman power eventually became a Roman province, a Roman client, or a Roman ruin. Kush did none of these things. It fought Rome to a standstill, inflicted a wound Rome preferred not to advertise, and walked away from the negotiating table as an independent kingdom, still ruled by the same woman who had started the war. Meroe continued for centuries after Amanirenas, its pyramids still rising from the desert, its ironworks still smelting, its own written script still evolving in ways Egypt's scribes could never read. The Candaces, who came after her, women like Amenishaketo, ruled in the same tradition she had set. Not queen mothers standing beside a throne, but queens who sat on it themselves, who led armies when armies were needed, and who understood that respect from an empire like Rome was not requested. It was taken. And somewhere beneath the temple floor in Meroe, for nearly 2,000 years, the buried bronze head of an emperor lay facing upward in the dark, waiting for the world to remember what a one-eyed queen had done to the most powerful man alive. The ancestors held this, and now you know it too. And so the story rests here for now. Sleep well.